Ehrlich, and Minister, thank you and your officials for coming before us. But I think we'd all rather be here under different circumstances. We're spending 3 hours discussing a prime time programme and the fallout from it, and I think I'd much rather be talking about whether it's the broader issue of the future of media and public service funding, or even other areas in your brief. And as I think you know, I've been a strong supporter of yours in other areas in terms of your record on inclusion in sport and your support for the arts. And you have been proactive in this area with regards to ensuring that there were inquiries into RTE around the issues of governance and around the issues of culture. Although I do, and I think you know, I don't believe that you should have done the primetime interview, and I do think it was unfortunate what happened. Can I ask, we know how much time our committee is spending on this. You have a pretty large brief. Roughly what proportion of your time do you spend on RTE?
In recent months?
In the last 9 months?
Yeah. It's hard to quantify. It's
as a proportion, roughly. I mean, you have a pretty large brief.
As certain issues emerge, it can absolutely dominate.
But would it be fair to say that a quarter of your...
this week, it's absolutely dominating.
Okay, and the concern is obviously that's the interest. How often would you have had contact with the chair since last July? Would it have been on a weekly basis? You know, would it be, and would these be just occasional phone calls, or would they be regular meetings?
Monthly meetings. Yeah. I have monthly meetings. And then there'd be ongoing contact with the officials.
With the officials.
And if there's anything of real significance, then it would be an email directly to me or a phone call directly to me.
So it'd be fair to say you would have had monthly engagements, you know, a formal sit-down meeting, and then your officials would have been regularly. It's probably fair to say that, you know, during certain weeks, you're probably talking to the chair 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Yeah, well, you can see last week, in just relation to the legal advice, there were 3 meetings with the chair,
okay.
And then phone calls on top.
And you've indicated that, you know, you had a pretty good working relationship, yeah, obviously with the chair and the team there. Could I ask? And we've seen, I mean, you know, the catastrophe that was in many ways inherited by the former chair and the current DG that was out there in RTE. Are you and were you broadly happy with the direction in which the Director General and the Chair had been bringing the organisation? I totally acknowledge they made missteps, and our committee would be as critical of them, but broadly speaking, are you happy with the direction in which they're taking RTE?
Yes, I was, yes.
Okay, because I have to say, and I'm disagreeing with some colleagues here, I have confidence in Kevin Backhurst. I don't agree with everything necessarily. I think he has made some missteps, but I think it is important from this committee to say, in the interests of the staff that are there, and also in the interests of the independent production sector, but indeed for public service broadcasting, at the end of all of this, we need an RTE that functions. And I want to see Kevin Backhurst to be able to do his job well. You will be aware, Minister, that obviously the relationship between the Chair and DG is also crucial, as indeed is the relationship between the Chair and Minister. And that is important. Could I ask, do you, looking back on last week, do you consider it to be a breakdown in communications or a breakdown in trust?
Do you know, it's hard to explain it because it's purely that I reached a place where I couldn't, as I said, I just felt I couldn't depend on the information that I was receiving. Again, I say I do not believe that was intentional. I don't know why it was happening, but I wasn't getting the inaccurate information, but I don't believe it was intentional.
Okay, so it was getting to you know, pretty difficult situation. I can't accept, Minister, that that you'd go on prime time not expecting the question, do you have confidence in the Chair? I'm pretty certain that whoever would have advised you would have said to you in advance, are you prepared for this question?
As I said, I can't predict the question, and as I said, I really didn't want this to happen on air, but, you know, and that's why I was trying not to go there in relation to the confidence. But this was really about not getting accurate information.
Okay, so I want to come back to questions that my colleague, Deputy Christopher Sullivan, was asking earlier, where, and it seems to be where, if you like, your confidence was broken, was around this issue where you had serious concerns around the information that was made available, and you had said to Siún Ní Raghallaigh as chair that you were going to put those concerns in a letter to Siún Ní Raghallaigh as chair, and Siún Ní Raghallaigh effectively said if you send that letter, she threatened to resign. Am I correct in that interpretation?
Yes.
Okay. So,
and there was no indication even of a meeting at that stage.
Okay, but
that's what has conveyed to me. That was a phone call. Which
but is that not effectively the case then, Minister, that the chair had basically said, I am going to resign?
I was hoping that was just a rash comment, because I couldn't understand how someone would try and tell the minister how to manage their work. I just found it, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah, but I appreciate that, Minister. But if the chair was to say to you, you know, if you send me this letter, I'm going to resign. I mean, surely at that stage you knew, right, that was it.
I really could think, and I thought it was just maybe a rash comment, because it didn't make sense.
But
just to send a letter to say that there are issues emerging from you given, you know, unfortunately you give inaccurate information.
But your chair came back to you and said, you know, if you send that letter, I'm going to resign. I suppose I'm asking, what is the point of having the meeting on the Friday morning if the chair had already indicated she was going to resign?
Because it was so astounding of a comment. I couldn't believe that anyone would just refuse to meet and to be afforded the opportunity to talk. So I was hoping that the former chair wouldn't do that.
Would you not? I mean, I appreciate you're saying so astounding, but I mean, ultimately you said, you know, the chair is your link and reports to you. But if it's so astounding, would you not just say, well, this is it, this is the end of the relationship?
I wanted to afford an opportunity because as I've stated in the statement, because she was so genuine, hardworking and committed, I wanted to afford an opportunity. How could you have got this so wrong?
But would there been, I mean, clearly then what you're telling us is that, and this was where I come to the question of a breakdown in communication and a breakdown in trust. I mean, essentially what you're telling us is there was a breakdown in trust. If there's a breakdown in communication, look, that happens quite often, there can be clarity. But here you're saying there's something astounding was said to you by the chair. The chair was saying, you send a letter and I'm going to resign. I just wonder then, what was the point to the Friday morning meeting if effectively it was either a case of that the chair had more or less said she was resigning, or in a sense it was constructive dismissal, which is what a lot of us would argue happened on the primetime programme?
Because I was still remaining hopeful that maybe that was just something that was said in the heat of the moment, and that she would take time to think about it and would come in, because the chair that I had dealt with for the last 8 months, I didn't think that was typical of the behaviour. But likewise, I felt I could depend on the information that I was being given in recent months, and I couldn't understand what had happened last week, and I just wanted to talk it through.
But Minister, you'd said earlier that, you know, there were a number of instances where you didn't feel that you were getting accurate information. So, you know, to suddenly come to this conclusion, I just kind of find difficult. Can I ask, did it occur to you, obviously given the close relationship between the Director General and the support of the board, which has now been evident for the chair, did it occur to you that there was a serious risk that the Director General and the board could have resigned on foot of your primetime interview?
I'm delighted that they have stayed in place and that we're going to meet on this week. But I have to act in a way where, you know, if I don't have the accurate information, if there are problems there, then I have to query that, and I had to correct the public record too, because on foot of being given the incorrect information on Monday, I clarified it for the chair because she hadn't clarified it, and that's why I went out on Monday. because there seemed to be confusion. I don't know why this hasn't been clarified. And I said, well, I will do it now that I have the correct information.
So just that I know you've indicated full confidence in the Director General of RT and the direction he's taking the organisation. You have full confidence in the board of RT as well?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I wanted just two quick questions, which are kind of the future issues. One, obviously, is the intention to appoint a new chair. If you might indicate to us that our discussions going on, whether he or she will be an interim chair or if there's a decision to have a full-time, part-time chair in place and when that appointment may be made. And then secondly, which I think is the bigger picture issue here, when do you intend to bring a paper to Cabinet with regard to the future funding model?
On the chair, I would like to move to appoint a full-time chair. So the board met last week and they said they will have a rotating chair until we have the full-time chair in place, and I'd like to move on that, if I can, within the week. And otherwise, we are looking at that in relation to the.
You are. I'm correct. Then you're sounding out individuals at the moment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. We're active on that in consultation with senior members of Cabinet, and in relation to the
future funding model.
Future funding. I'm waiting for the reports. The expert advisory committees. I've always said that they're due in March. I want to move as soon as possible. I've always said I feel that should be done before the summer. The sooner the better.
Well, I think we would certainly share that view, and I think so. We should see April or May. We will see.
That's what I would wish to happen. Yes.
Okay.